He is an absolute liability, and he shouldn't be allowed in the skies because he puts other people at risk. And so, when we're talking about Anakin and his whole descent to the dark side, and it's like part of me just thinks it is really forced because it's like, oh yeah, well it's because of his, because he never leaves a man behind or anything, and that shows he's got attachment issues and stuff, so that's what makes him bad. And I was just trying to square that circle in my mind where it's like, well, I guess again it's down to the writing, isn't it? You kind of have to make him get from A to B, and but in another story.
Mm.
All of those things would just make him a great 80s action hero. He's adaptable, does anything, he wants, he breaks the rules because he doesn't play by the rules, proper 80s action hero. So yeah, that was my thoughts on Anakin, where yeah, I just really like him as a character in this, and I can't really fault him for anything that he does, even though there's these little nods. It's like, oh, look, it's showing his attachment, and this is the path to the dark side. Like, fuck that. And you got people like Mace Windu, piss off, even though we've not got there yet.
And we are here once again for Clone Wars Conversations. This is the show where we watch every episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars and we talk about it, basically. And this episode is Season 2, Part 2, so we are delving into episodes 12 to 22. Make sure you go back and listen to Season 1 and Season 2, Part 1 and all the other sort of centric content we've done, like Rebels Reviewed, to get into all the Star Wars that you may not have considered watching before, or that you may have and you need a little refresher for. This is the perfect show for you. And with me, I'm joined by 3 individuals, one of whom will not be here for the entire pod because she's tired. But everyone loves it when Megan shows up, so Megan is here. How are you doing, Megan?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm sleepy.
Some nice Monday for you. Very nice late Monday for Megan. So she's just going to be in here at the start for us. And then we've got Dave. How are you doing, Dave?
Very good, thank you, sir. Glad to be talking a bit of Clone Wars.
And you've improved your lighting as well. So any YouTube watchers over at youtube.com/genuine chit-chat can see Dave's lovely face with an upgraded light. And, I'm desperate to upgrade my new camera to get a new camera because I've got the worst camera. A lot of the time of my guests, I've got this nice crisp sound, but this rubbish camera. But your light is looking very good there, sir. And then, as always, we have Maff with an interesting background, a still from the Clone Wars. How are you doing, and why did you choose that still?
Well, I just thought it's kind of the monster coming over the back of me. Thank you for having me on here again. I always try to pick out my favourite episode and just kind of use that as my background. And obviously, R2-D2, how can you go wrong?
That is true. That is, I think, Megan's favourite character in Star Wars.
He's my boy.
He's your boy. Speaking of that, so with Season 2 of the Clone Wars, Season 2, Part 2 specifically came out in 2010, and you've got a few sort of smaller arcs. It's not quite the same as Part 1. Part 1, we had the massive 5-part Geonosis arc, and then we had quite a few little 1s and 2s sort of dotted around. But that was kind of the main meat of it. Whereas this one, it's kind of got the main meat is the Mandalorian episodes, the first 3 with the Duchess of Mandalore. Then you've got 3 one-off episodes, then a 2-episode of the Zillo Beast, and then the 3-episode finale. So it's a bit more structured in certain ways than Part 1. But I personally, although I very much enjoyed the start of Part 2 here, I personally think I preferred Part 1 as a whole because that Geonosis arc for me really hit it out of the park. Megan, what did you think? What have you thought of? Because Season 2, because you weren't with us for the previous review, were you? I think.
No.
And it was Season 1 you dipped in as well. So Season 2 as a whole, how have you found that compared to Season 1? And this half, sort of what have you thought about it?
I think Season 2 is better than Season 1.
Yep.
By like a long mile. I think the second part of Season 2 feels more fragmented because it's less of a continuous storyline. So, as like you said, there's the 5-part thing for Geonosis. Like it feels like it's like this long period of time that you're watching the same thing happen, like in a good way. Whereas, like, although I like most of the little arcs in this, it just feels kind of like disjointed a little bit more for this half of the series, I think.
And what I can't remember if I've asked you on this specific run of our show, but what is the part of the Clone Wars you enjoy the most, like in general? Like, because I like the Force centric stuff. Do you like characters in particular that show up? Do you like one-off episodes? Do you like more
for me? I
in-depth
think
stories?
it just gives me more backstory to how, or like what happens eventually to Anakin. Like, because I dislike Padme in the films, but and I dislike Anakin in the films, but after watching the Clone War, oh my god, I can't speak, the Clone Wars series, I much prefer them as characters. They have more agency. Like, before I always thought Anakin was just a whiny little bitch, and although he is just a whiny little bitch, like, there is more to him. And then it like goes into it a little bit more as to like why he went against or not so much against the Jedi, but you can see that Mace doesn't like him and that he's got a bit of a stick up his arse, and like it just gives more backstory to the movies that fills in some gaps.
Yeah, especially Anakin's turn. Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I will note as well, before we delve into Dave and Maff's opinions, just quickly before I forget. So this is another one of those where some of the episodes are out in weird and strange orders. Season 3's got a few weird ones as well. We'll get into that towards the end of the episode. But this one has got, so Season 2, Episode 16, which is called Cat and Mouse when we get to it, is the first chronological animated thing out of the Clone Wars. It's that, then an episode of Season 1, then the movie, then a couple episodes of Season 3. So a few more disjointed bits here and there. It will kind of end once we get into Season 4 because it's a bit more consistent, but it's just an interesting choice once again. But Dave, what did you think of Part 2 of the Clone Wars Season 2 as a whole compared to Part 1, and how's it been so far?
I hadn't really thought to compare them, which is weird because we're coming on here to discuss it, aren't we? But
most people don't, I don't think. I think it's just us because of the format.
I think it's because the way we split it, but I'm really glad we did split it because I do feel like there's just too much to discuss and, do a flyby in a whole season. I know we did it for Season 1, but it's kind of the worst season, really. So I'm glad we split it up into 2. And then, like, Aristotle's arrow, we're probably going to get it smaller and smaller the closer we get to the end. Yeah, so I think I'd put it on par, to be honest. But what I would say is, whereas I'm with Megan, the thing I like about the Clone Wars is understanding kind of Anakin's journey. That's the main point of it for me. Everything else is like a supporting story to that. So I love the stuff exploring the clone rights, if you like, when we kind of get into a little bit of that in this season. The fact that they are individuals, even though they all came from that same DNA, they are all individual entities. But I think whereas the first part of it, it does explore Anakin and Padme and kind of Obi-Wan more. It takes like a bit of a left turn. And suddenly I'm thinking chronologically, because obviously I didn't watch it chronologically. I watched Rebels first and then, saw bits of Mandalorian. In fact, I think I saw the Mandalorian first before Rebels and then watching Clone Wars. So completely the wrong way. But I can imagine, if you were watching this in real time, it must have been a bit mad. It's like, the hell's this? What's this got to do with Boba Fett and Jango Fett? And it all seems a bit weird. And you got this pacifist culture that's this warrior race. What the hell's going on? So for me, it took like a massive left turn and stopped moving Anakin's story forward. But it did add some layers onto Obi-Wan. I don't know if that was the main point of it, because it's ended up creating this whole kind of Mandalorian pocket of the Star Wars universe as well. So I think that's the best bit. Also validated Mace Windu is a dick. And also explored some of the political stuff as well, with, vying for alliances with the different planets and stuff, and some of the, toing and froing there. So yeah, on par with the first half for me.
Nice. And what about you, Maff? What do you think of how this part compared to the first part and your journey so far? Because for you, it's fresh. I mean, you have watched it in reverse order because you've gone Mandalorian, Rebels, Ahsoka, Clone Wars. But how have you been finding this part?
Also reading the comics and I'm finding out stuff. It's like, oh, so that's what happens to them. I think I think whoever put these in order, I know we've discussed the orders a bit out of place anyway. Maybe what they should have done is ended season 2 with the Geonosis stuff. That could have been a good way to finish it. But I think the way we've split it up into like, half seasons of this, I think you have a lot of your action in the first part. In this one, it's a bit more story. They're kind of focusing on just little characters more. I enjoy understanding Obi-Wan. And then there's just little, I've been noticed there's little things that Obi-Wan says and then Anakin says, and although they're both kind of meaning the same thing, you can take them out of a different context, which I'll get into that in a bit. But I also, it's a bit like when you watch Deadpool and something happens and Deadpool kind of looks at the screen and gives you that bit of a wink. I feel that this is more Dave Filoni doing this. Anakin will do something, and then the music will change, and it will get a bit dark, and it's a bit like this is happening. We know where it's going. We're just gonna keep pointing this out to you. So I've enjoyed this. I think it has a bit more. This is a bit more kind of story driven, with a sprinkle of kind of. Again, they're not so much filler, but not as important. More of a monster of the week kind of episode just thrown in there. I don't know if they was kind of set out that you had to have 22 episodes. So it's like, right, but we've got 15 that we know are definitely good. We need to find, like we said last time, Mr. Intern, you just, you can have a go at doing one. And that, you obviously employer of the week, you can do this one today. And maybe they should have condensed it a bit. I think they do further down the line, don't they?
Yeah, I think they were commissioned for 22 episodes for the first 4 seasons as a kind of guarantee. And then from there, it was kind of dotted around different networks. So it's quite, especially, it was around series 5 that it started. It was struggling to find where you'd watch it. And that's around this, like season 4, especially in season 5, it gets very dark. And because of its unique tone, no one really knew what to do with it or where to put it almost. So that's when it started, the episode amount started to reduce a little bit. But I want to draw your attention that there's, and I never knew this, I think I mentioned it in part 1 briefly, but this season 2 is kind of marketed as Rise of the Bounty Hunters. Now, there are bounty hunters in it, obviously. In this one, you've got the one-off episode Bounty Hunters, and then you've got the ending 3, Death Trap, R2 Come Home, and Lethal Takedown, Trackdown, which we'll delve into because that's about Boba Fett. And then in season 2, part 1, you've got the first 3 episodes, the Holocron Heist, Children of the Force, Cargo of Doom, etc. And then you've got the sort of Senate spy stuff, and then the Geonosis arc, which doesn't have bounty hunters in it. Grievous Intrigue, Deserter, and Lightsaber Lost don't really have bounty hunters in either. So it's called Rise of the Bounty Hunters, and you've got the first 3 episodes are bounty hunter centric, the last 3 are, and then there's one a little bit before that. But, 7 episodes out of 22, that's about a third. Calling it Rise of the Bounty Hunters is a bit odd, especially because there's certain episodes later on in the season that are a lot more bounty hunter centric. So I wanted, just before we kind of delve into some of the more specific elements of the episodes, Megan, do you, like in Star Wars when it comes to bounty hunters, are you fussed about them? Like, what are Jedi your favorite things? Are little weird creatures? Like, what are your favorite kind of character or like groupings of things in Star Wars compared to bounty hunters?
I mean, there's 2 questions there, really, isn't there? It's like, what do I associate with being Star Wars?
Yeah, that's a good point.
In which case, that would be Jedi. But if it's what my favorite thing is, I don't know. Like,
you like some of the weird creatures, don't you, and stuff?
I do like some of the weird creatures. I like all the puppets and stuff, so I like that element of it. I like the costuming. But like, aside from the Mandalorian, there isn't really, and obviously the Boba Fett series, which was, whatever, but like...
Megan's not a fan of that one.
I didn't not like it, but like, it wasn't great. Like the best episodes of the Boba Fett series were the Mandalorian episodes, but aside from those 2, it doesn't really go into much to do with bounty hunters, really.
Legends had a bit more in it and video games, stuff like that, but it's not really anything that's...
But this is the thing. So, like, I don't mind it. I think it's all right. Obviously, I like The Mandalorian, but, like, the aspects of that are less so to do with the fact that... Because he's not a bounty hunter.
He kind
like,
of well,
anymore. Like,
yeah, he becomes less of one as a
do you know what I
series goes
mean?
on.
Like, the more you like the show, well, the more that I like the show, less of a bounty hunter he is.
Yeah.
So it's not even so much that, I don't know, they haven't given us that much content to do with bounty hunters for me to actually like make an opinion on it.
Because a lot of them are quite villainous, aren't they? Like Cad Bane. And
Yeah, they're all baddies. Like they're all. It's because their moral compass is, like, you know, it sways.
You're gonna say
in the wind.
Yeah, that's
depending on where the money's coming from.
Yeah, and they just haven't interested you quite yet so far in the canon, really.
I think some of the bounty hunters are cool.
Yeah,
but like, it's not like I'm gagging to see a show specifically about bounty hunters.
Interesting. So, Maff, what about you? What do you think of like bounty hunters as a whole, in the context of this show as well?
I think normally when you think Star Wars, you say bounty hunters, you think Boba Fett. That's the first thing, and then obviously associate that with the Mandalorians. But again, then when you think about it, they're actually not bounty hunters. They're just they're a war clan. That's what they are. I think we see it. There's an episode with the bounty hunters who are protecting the people. I think that's a very clever episode because it shows that, again, when you think bounty hunter, you normally think, oh, bad guy. And they're not. They're there to do a job that other people don't want to do. You know, you pay them enough money, they'll do the job for you. And it's irrelevant whether it's go kill Luke Skywalker and fail, or come and protect us. Because no one else is going to do it. You know, you've got the Empire and the Separatists, but no one's actually protecting us, so we have to hire mercenaries. So I can see a point that they've kind of said Rise of the Bounty Hunters, but we don't really get enough. They don't really push it because if anything, when I go away from this, and if I think of season 2, I will think of the Geonosis stuff. That's the biggest part that you think of. Not so much the bounty hunters. They're kind of a second, if not third, thought. Because the Duchess. I know you've mentioned she's quite an important character. We only get up a few episodes in this, but she'll probably stick out more than some of the bounty hunter episodes.
Yeah, I'd agree. And what about you, Dave? Your sort of thoughts? Because I think you generally enjoy bounty hunters a bit more, don't you, than potentially the rest of us?
I don't know. I don't know what the average or median for liking bounty hunters is. I think for me, there was always some mysticism around Boba Fett, and I remember, back in the day, you used to like. Everything was postal order. There was no internet, or I guess you could ring up certain things where you'd fill out your form or whatever. You'd send it off and you'd get a mystery figure. And I'm sure about 3 times on the bounce, I got Boba Fett like every time. And I seem to remember, even before Empire Strikes Back, Boba Fett as a character had been designed. I'm sure I watched
It was in the holiday special as well.
Yeah, but there was some kind of documentary where like Vader was just instantly the biggest thing, the big bad out of Star Wars. But they were walking through some town and they had Boba Fett with Vader, even though he'd never appeared on screen before. So he's always had this kind of aura about him, and the series just destroyed all of that. They'd have been better not doing it. But I guess probably the whole bounty hunter thing, because you don't generally come across them in everyday life, do you? But you're probably looking at those original ideas for Star Wars. Basically this samurai culture, or this Western meets samurai type culture where, you'll have bounty hunters chasing down lawbreakers and stuff like that. And I guess you do associate them with being part of the baddies, but really they're more morally ambiguous, aren't they? It just so happens the baddies are the imperialistic empire. They're the ones with most of the money. So they're the ones who can afford the bounty hunters. So that's why, they tend to employ them more. So I think they're interesting, but mainly a plot device most of the time. But I do appreciate how, Filoni's kind of introduced them. He didn't have to create this whole thing that now people care about a lot. You've got a whole series spin-off about them, and people care about it. So, yeah, I think I'd have thought I was about average on bounty hunters, but I do think they're an interesting kind of third element. You've got the Empire, you've got the Rebel Alliance and whatever, or the goodies and the baddies, and then you've got this wild card in the middle that, like I say, depending on who the writer is, you can do whatever you want with.
Yeah, I think it's part of the underground, isn't it? And a lot of the underground does generally lean towards crime and things like that. That the Hutts are bad, the Pikes, etc. But yeah, bounty hunters are sort of more middle ground. Well, Megan, final sort of question before you go off to bed.
My eyes are drifting.
Because you're limping. You're limping across. You want to be involved. Whenever we do it,
I'm here and I'm just sweating.
Whenever we're about to record, like the days leading up, Megan's like, yeah, I'm excited to talk Clone Wars. I'm excited. And then we get to it, and it's just because you have such busy days being a teacher.
Well, I mean, today I wasn't at work either. I actively don't feel well today.
But you want to persevere through. I didn't force her, friends. She did want to jump in and give opinions. So the last sort of thing I'll ask you before we kick you off the call is what was your favourite kind of episode in this, or sort of parts? We've kind of touched upon it a little bit, but
I like the Mandalore plot line.
You like that, which it is a good start, so we can have you kick that off for us, and then we'll bid you adieu. So, what is it you like about that? There's the Duchess, there's the Mandalorian culture.
Well, I like the aspect of Mandalore.
Did you like it before? Did I show you this before Mandalorian came out?
Yes.
It was. Because I think Mandalore...
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So you've came at it from a slightly different angle from a lot of sort of newer viewers.
Yeah.
So Mandalore as a...
Yeah, I must have done because...
I think you did, yeah.
Yeah, no, I must have done because I remember going for a walk on New Year's Day and my brother being like, oh, I've just watched this episode of The Mandalorian. The one where... Is it Ahsoka? And I was like, yeah, okay, Ahsoka Tano.
And that was series 2.
And I knew about that, so we must have seen the Clone Wars prior.
Yeah, I must have seen it all prior, I suppose. I mean, I did. I guess when we got together, that was nearly 6 years ago, so that's 2017, so...
Well, we were living in the flat when the final series of Clone Wars came out.
Yeah.
And I was watching it with you, but I wasn't up to date with it yet, so you had to watch it without me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good memory.
Anyway.
So, Mandalore. What is it about Mandalore and this sort of first few episodes that's actually intrigued you?
I don't know. I like Mandalorian culture. I'm excited to see how it all comes to fruition.
Because you remember bits and pieces, don't you? But
I find Satine annoying. Because I'm like, yeah, all good for pacifism. I'm all good for that. But you need to give a little bit.
It doesn't.
It doesn't work.
Neutrality doesn't. Often
you're trying to save your country, but you're actually just is the country world your planet?
Yeah, it's system. I think the term.
Yeah, but you're currently destroying it.
I think there's a fine line, isn't there, between taking a strong neutral position and just being a wet lettuce.
Yeah.
And I think she's the other side of being a wet lettuce most of the time.
She's also a bit of a bitch, if I'm being honest. She's so mean to Obi-Wan. He's just trying to help her, and she's so Obi-Wan. Horrible to him at points.
I think that's kind of it's obviously we know there's been a relationship between them. But when I first met her, I kind of thought, ooh, there's something there between them two. And as we go along, we find out the war. So maybe she's a bit jilted for the fact that, you fucked up and left me.
How much of a relationship, though? Because I was kind of wondering.
We don't know. It's the #1 most requested story in all of Legends and canon.
Oh, he would have left the Jedi Order for her.
He would have done, which is one of the most powerful lines of Obi-Wan's character, I think. And we'll delve into that in a sec. But everyone says when Tales of the Jedi comes out, everyone is yelling, we want some Quinlan Vos, and we want the story of Obi-Wan when he was young with Qui-Gon to show how he met Satine, what their kind of relationship was. Because you get more hints of it, Maff, as the Clone Wars unfold, but you never get a true flashback. You never get to actually see how they met.
His lightsaber.
No, we don't get that, unfortunately. We get a lot more of the fun.
Clone Wars Knights.
Do you like as well Obi-Wan as in the context of the Mandalore arc? Do you like Obi-Wan being more sassy in his kind of personality?
Yeah, I like cheeky Obi-Wan.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like him when he's a little bit cheeky.
Cheeky Obi-Wan's the best.
It's like when he says the little sarcastic comments to Anakin. I'm like, come on, everyone.
But then Anakin does it to
Being
him,
a bit
though.
cheeky.
But Anakin does throw it back in, like back in the second episode when Anakin finds out about Obi-Wan and Satine, and he's like, "Oh, you go."
Yeah.
When you go see your girlfriend, he's like, and it's just seeing Anakin have that fun with Obi-Wan is so good.
They're just better written, aren't they? I feel like than
The
they're
brotherly
on
love.
screen. Yeah, like you believe when you think back to A New Hope and you've got Alex Guinness playing Obi-Wan and he's got a genuine sadness about him. Whereas, you think back to the prequels and you just think Anakin's a bit of a dick, and then there was always this power imbalance between them. They weren't really friends. That didn't come across in the movies at all. Whereas in Clone Wars, I think it seems like much more of a brotherly type of relationship, and you can believe there's a genuine sorrow there.
I think you said last time, Mike, that when they kind of became in line with each other, it was like, I'm glad I'm not having to mentor you anymore. And he's like, I'm glad you're not a father figure anymore.
They both relieved in different ways.
Yeah, you can feel that. Plus, they've got so many more episodes where they can kind of build this relationship between them both. Whereas in a film, you've only got 2 hours. And they've got to get so much in there. And you don't want to drag it on so everyone's like, oh, right, fine, yes, they're going shopping again together. Just pick out your cyber crystal, cool, let's get on with it. But you feel that there is something there between them. And then, like you keep saying, that the more Star Wars you consume, the better things get. And this makes a prequel. I know that we're not there yet, but Episode 3, that bit where I hate you, it hits a lot more now. And I'm only season 2 into this. The fact that there was a love there, they loved each other, and the fact that this big betrayal, it's hitting harder. It's same as watching.
My heart just hurt a little bit when you said that.
I didn't mean that to you, Dave.
No, but genuinely, it makes it hit harder, doesn't it? And that's what I said as well. That the Clone Wars, it definitely makes the prequels better,
especially Episode 3. Because there's a very special cut, Maff, which Dave has seen and so has Megan. It's a special cut of Revenge of the Sith. And there are extended scenes in Revenge of the Sith that are still canon. They're included in there.
Are they the deleted scenes?
Yeah.
Oh, they're so much better. I wish they were in the movie.
A lot of it is about Padme and Mon Mothma and Bail Organa behind the scenes, talking about Palpatine's rise to power. But there's an extended scene of Obi-Wan speaking with Padme when he asks her where is Anakin and she won't tell him. It's some of the best dialogue that George Lucas ever had a hand in writing. And there's memes going, deleted scene with all this brilliant, beautifully written dialogue, and then kept this in, I hate sand. And it's like, what are you doing, George? So there's a cut, and there's more stuff in it, but I won't tell you about that yet. But there's a special, it's like 4-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith, and it's got the deleted scenes that are canon and other elements in there, and it makes Revenge of the Sith so good. And I'm always looking for an excuse to rewatch it, but it is 4 hours long.
Have you gone back and rewatched Rogue One after watching Andor?
I think I might have done. I can't fully remember.
We didn't.
I think you said we're going to when season 2 ends.
We were gonna watch it after season 2 came out. After season 2 comes out, because it hasn't come out
we've
yet.
partly been watching. We've watched about half of Andor season 1 again, and then when season 2 is announced formally, we'll then watch the other half, and then we'll delve into season 2, because apparently, mild spoilers for anyone listening who doesn't want to know anything about Andor, but at the end of season 2, the last few episodes are going to go directly into Rogue One. So the characters
season 2 is the last
in
season.
Rogue One, like at the start. I think the guy with the bad arm, it's not Melchi, it's called something else. Apparently, he's going to be a part of the final arc of Andor, so it's all going to bleed in. But sorry, you asked a question and I just told you loads of Star Wars trivia. So.
No, it's just after watching Andor, because they were like Star Wars. So I went back and watched Rogue One, and Rogue One hits harder. It means a lot more. I'll probably do it again once I finish season 2 of Andor when that comes out. You're so correct, the fact that the more that you learn, whether it's through the animations, the comics, whatever it is, the more it builds on this world, and the more that you kind of get a feel to it, and you you understand where certain characters are. Again, Filoni must have thought, right, I have to get certain things put into this series to just show his path that he takes, and the fact that there's a line where Obi-Wan says that the peacekeepers, and Anakin says we're protectors. They mean the same, but the thing is, peacekeepers, and Satine says, well, you're a bit of a hypocrite, because how can you keep peace by, you're normally destroying things, you're attacking things,
violence.
You use violence. Whereas Anakin's like, no, we protect, and that you need someone to protect you. They will do the violence, they will do the stuff that you don't. They'll be the bounty hunters. To be fair, you could argue these are kind of bounty hunters, because you need someone to do that so that you can have the peace. You need someone who, rightly or wrongly, can kind of control this so that, we don't have Space Hitler kind of coming up from the power. It's interesting the fact that they both are following the same path, but they see it different ways. And then there's a fantastic point. I'll wait till we get to it, but I'll wait till we get to it. I think it might be episode 13, so I'll wait till we get there.
Yeah, no worries at all. Well, Megan, anything before you leave us? Anything you want to say about Clone Wars Season 2? Are you excited about the next season? Because next season...
Is the next season the one that I don't want to happen yet?
No. Oh, I think it might be.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. I think it's
got
that
more?
episode. No. I'm not going to confirm or deny, but the thing that Megan's talking about, you wouldn't be able to guess it.
It literally has nothing to do with any other thing
episode.
ever.
It's just a one-off random episode. You would not be able to guess what happens.
I can watch Dave's face trying to figure it out.
Dave knows what it is if I said...
I'm going to go on IMDb now.
I thought, okay... No, I won't say. I'll message you. There's two.
Do you want me to take my headphones off?
No, it's fine.
I was just going to say this word. Hold on. I'll type it to Mike and then I can show you.
I know it's going to be two numbers, isn't it?
No, that's not. No, that would be too obvious.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to say that.
Oh, yeah. But I think even saying that might actually be.
Nah, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Old.
No idea.
Oh no.
Megan's dropping the pen. Well, anyway, so
Mike can tell you later.
I've just discorded it to you, Dave, privately, and you'll know. I can't even say what I've said because when the episode comes up, it'll be obvious. Dave maybe doesn't remember. Oh, that's gonna be exciting then. Oh, that's gonna be a good one.
Oh yeah, this episode is completely unrelated to any other content of Star Wars ever. It's literally just a one-off random episode.
It's a flashbacky one. Yeah.
Is this Lucas's favorite episodes?
No, that's not our favourite one. No, that's not till later on. But the droid-centric episode, that's 4 of them. That's quite.
I don't like this episode that I'm referring to.
No, Megan doesn't like it. She doesn't want to watch it.
I don't want to watch it.
But the next series does kick off with, I think, the water arc, and I think Kit Fisto's in that.
We love Kit Fisto.
You do love Kit Fisto. Was there anything else you want to say before? No,
I don't think so.
No, amazing.
Oh yeah, that's all right. I enjoyed it.
Cool. You lasted half an hour and you gave us a decent amount of opinions.
My eyes were drifting though. I will say.
YouTube, people on YouTube will be able to see it.
Yeah. If you watch the first half an hour of this, you'll see my eyes drifting. One thing I will say is just the Zillo Beast thing. Yes. I liked the first episode. Wasn't as fast on the second episode. I feel like the second episode didn't really need to be there.
It could have been done in one episode, but it's a big King Kong ripoff kind of thing, isn't it?
I think
so. Yeah.
Second episode was very Godzilla one too. Let's kind of get this beast in and show.
The first episode had a lot more intrigue to it, I'd say. Okay, well, you'll join us again for season 3, part 1.
Yeah. Hopefully, I won't be tired and I can actually do the whole thing.
Maybe we'll see. We'll load you up with coffee, iced coffee. Otherwise, if not, but we'll do that. Get you involved, and well, thank you, Megan. Appreciate you. And for the power of editing, it will be gone in a moment.
Yeah, because this is not going to be graceful, which is actually what's going to happen. Bye, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Could do
that wavy line thing.
I was going to say in the 80s when they had those crappy effects, so it's just editing. You just click your fingers and then they cut to the shot after.
Now the girl is gone, the boys come out to play. Yes, well, that was good fun, listening to Megan's thoughts on things. But yes, she would not have been able to survive and listen to talk about all the episodes because she was falling asleep or sat up. Bless her cotton socks. But she gave us some cool opinions, some interesting things to talk about. But I think we'll delve into sort of the episodes because we're chatting for half an hour. We've got 12 to 22 half is 11 to go. So the Mandalore plot. So Megan spoke about it a little bit. We've got the Darksaber's first appearance. We've got someone called Pre Vizsla, who's voiced by Jon Favreau, and he also voices one of the characters, the Mandalorian. So the Vizsla clan, we heard about this in Rebels, which is they were basically the first ever Mandalorian Jedi made the Darksaber, and so Paz Vizsla and Pre Vizsla are both the two of the Vizslas that we know of in this. And so that was a fun little sort of Mandalorian connection because Jon Favreau voices both of them, which is cool. But what did you guys think? I'll go to Dave first with the Mandalore arc, the first three. We won't need to say specific episodes necessarily because they all kind of do join together quite nicely, apart from the third one. She goes to Coruscant. So it's a little bit different. What do you think? What do you think of this? Did you remember much about it on this sort of second rewatch? What do you think?
Sort of vaguely, but I think what happens in Rebels, what happens in The Mandalorian, and what happens in Clone Wars in my head, it's all kind of jumbled, and I can't think specifically. Well, where did I first see what? And you've got the Darksaber, as you mentioned, the first appearance, but I'd seen that later on, and I don't know what it is about the Darksaber. I feel like people go nuts for it. Like, if you were watching it in the cinema, people would be like, yeah, the fucking Darksaber, get in. And I'm like, whatever. I just don't really get it, like what the aura is of it.
It looks cool.
Yeah. I think for me, the classic kind of lightsaber, whether it's yellow, green, red, and the aura around it, I don't know, the kind of black saber, it just doesn't do it for me in the same way. But yeah, I kind of appreciated the building up of the lore. It almost feels to me like, if you've watched Game of Thrones, the first few episodes of that, you watch it and you're jumping around to these different things, these different settings, these different families, and you have no idea. It's like, what? Someone new. Who's these people now? I don't care about them, and then you gradually kind of get used to it. So it seemed a lot of table setting for me for what's to come later. So I wouldn't say I loved it, but I felt like the most interesting thing was Obi-Wan's relationship with the princess, and like I said, I did feel like. I do find it annoying, and I'm not sure if it's intentionally supposed to be annoying because a lot of our writing and stuff, it's all a bit conservative, really, isn't it? It's like, oh, let's go and smash whoever, all these bloody lefties, they just don't want to go to war and stuff. I don't know if it was written that way or just came across that way. But yeah, the Duchess, I thought she was okay, but I definitely want to know, did her and Obi-Wan bang? That's my biggest question.
I think it's heavily insinuated that they did. I think that's the general, and as the story unfolds, I think it's one of those things that it was. And I'll say I do enjoy the Mandalorian plot. I think the Darksaber's cool, but the Mandalorian sort of things, I'll be screamed at if I don't mention this. The Mandalore history and who they were was created in Legends, like a huge amount of it, and then Clone Wars kind of came in and. This might upset some people, cleaned it up a little bit because obviously when Clone Wars first came out, it was in Legends. But when you then take away all the Mandalorian lore from Legends and you just start with the Clone Wars and then Rebels, it's just a lot easier to follow and it's a lot cleaner slate. There's a lot of stuff, especially in Legends when you delve into who Boba Fett and Jango Fett were. Before the prequels came out, there was no clear answer. So, this was the thing. Oh, actually, no, that was just a lie that Boba Fett was told when he was a kid. It's actually this thing. Oh, no, actually, that thing you were told was actually a lie. So it's the first thing is this other thing. Whereas a lot of what Clone Wars does, it's quite a good entry level. It's like just square one. Here's who the Mandalorians were. Here's who they kind of are. So, Maff, what did you think about this? Already knowing obviously a lot about Mandalorians and things. And what do you think about these characters and this arc as a whole?
Until you just mentioned it, I obviously got it a bit mixed up. Pre Vizsla and
Paz Vizsla. I thought it was the same person because we obviously meet him in Rebels. Now, Mandalorian, even there's several Vizslas that you'll meet, but the main the two I was speaking of is the one in Clone Wars and then the one in Mandalorian, which is nearly 30 years later.
Is that the guy in the big blue armor?
Yes. He's the one who's like the father of the Foundling in season 3. Yeah. Now,
with the Darksaber, we see Bo-Katan take the Darksaber because she wins it back. Okay, so if when you fight in combat and you lose, you then give up the Darksaber, and the person who wins has the Darksaber. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So why hasn't Obi-Wan got the Darksaber? Because he beats him.
He does, cool. Because obviously, when he was meant to be fighting him 1-on-1, he then said, "Quick, Mandalorians, get him." It was very dishonorable. And because he's like a disgraced Mandalorian in a lot of ways, like Death Watch, they're terrorists. And so it's kind of like he's not a very honorable person. He's just all about like his pride. He believes he's because of his blood, he deserves it, not necessarily because of the honor that kind of bestows upon it. And that kind of meaning of the Darksaber kind of, as Mandalore pops up again in the future episodes of the Clone Wars, it shows a lot more. Like in Rebels, we hear the whole history of the Darksaber. So far in this, you just saw the Darksaber. It gets mentioned it was the first Mandalorian Jedi, and that's it. But the animation in Rebels is similar to what we see in Clone Wars at some episode where the history of the Darksaber gets explained.
Right, because that's fair enough. If he's basically, like you say, dishonorable, but all the rest of Mandalorians, surely they follow this path. So surely they should have turned their back on him.
Yeah, well, it's one of those where Death Watch. So in Mandalorian, Din Djarin was raised by the Children of the Watch, and the Children of the Watch are a group that came from what is in Clone Wars presently Death Watch.
Right.
So Death Watch, over time, over the 3 years of the Clone Wars, each season of the Clone Wars, loosely from memory, has a couple of Mandalorian episodes, and it all builds to a certain thing, and the certain thing kind of wraps up everything. I say everything. It wraps up a lot until we see what happens in Rebels, and then in Rebels you get, the sort of Sabine family side of stuff. Then you get the Mandalorian and then the flashbacks, and they're all kind of pieces of a puzzle, and it does make a lot more coherent sense, but there's a lot of questions that you are rightly asking, and once you see how the Mandalorian plotline unfolds, it will make more sense as to why certain things did or maybe did not happen at times.
Right. I do hope that anyone who's listening that actually doesn't mind me asking these, because I listened and I thought, I'm just basically asking questions. We go
it's good though. No, like, it's great.
What does this mean? And you go, oh, it means this. And then it explains it to me, but it's like, they're watching it, I'm learning a lot more. There's still certain bits, it's like, well, that don't make sense because that doesn't. But there again, once I've seen it all, maybe it will tie up at some point.
It's not all perfect, to clarify. And also, George Lucas and Filoni were making this up as they went along. Like, they were using influences from Legends in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But there are, although they had an idea they were going to make sort of 4 seasons, there are a couple of things that loosely contradict things that may have come before. So it's just because as they do, the Darksaber at this point, as season 2 finishes, I don't know if at the point Dave Filoni knew or George Lucas were like, the Darksaber is definitely this really intense, almost borderline magical artifact that's got this honor behind it. They just thought, let's just have a Mandalorian who kind of should have a lightsaber by birthright and kind of see where that takes us. I don't know if they had the plan. You know what I mean?
Because is George Lucas involved in all the seasons, or does he bow out after season 4?
So he's more involved in the first 4 seasons, because I think he wrote a few of those. And then I think season 5 and then 6, I think 5 he was involved with, and 6 as well. But then the Disney buyout sort of came.
Right.
And because season 7 of the Clone Wars is made after Rebels. So it was, when we get to it, and there'll be a lot to talk about when we get there, season 6 is unfinished. Okay. It just kind of stops. And like the arcs are finished, but it's the shortest season, and that was the end of the Clone Wars, and you're like, oh, That feels really weird. And then Rebels came out, and then you get drip fed, technically spoilers about Clone Wars from Rebels because they're based on the episodes that weren't made. And then season 7 of the Clone Wars was made a few years ago, obviously what Megan said earlier. And that fills in a lot of the gaps. So you're again in a very lucky position because I watched Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff, and it was just unfinished. And the Ahsoka novel somewhat spoils what happens in the finale of Clone Wars because that was based off of unused scripts that were for Clone Wars as well. So there was a Clone Wars initiative. I can't remember what it was called. I think it's Clone Wars Legacy or something. And there's just a handful of pieces of content that came out that were filling in the gaps left from when the Clone Wars finished. But then it comes back in season 7. Obviously, Lucas, although didn't have a direct involvement when season 7 was made, George and Filoni wrote a lot, or at least parts of, the conclusion that season 7 of the Clone Wars kind of was in a lot of ways. It's why a lot of diehard Legends fans love the Clone Wars and hate everything else Disney does, because it's the last thing that is canon that isn't the original movies that George Lucas had an active hand in.
Do you feel... Sorry, I know we're kind of
go
going
ahead.
opposite. Do you feel that it's improved more without Lucas involved?
What do you think, Dave? Like, it's almost like Rebels compared to Clone Wars in certain ways.
So I think you can't argue with Lucas as the architect, but that's how I'd kind of see him. And you know, I think in any kind of project, because all of this is just a project, and then you have kind of children projects almost, but I think he's in the right place when he is that ideas guy, that architect. But I think other people need to be in there to do the detail, you know, doing the dialogue, you know, so keep him in that visionary box, if you like. So I think it's not a case of, I think getting him out the way makes it better. It's just once it's architected, then, you know, other people can kind of just fill in the blanks and, you know, keep checking in with him that, you know, this is still consistent with, you know, would some certain character do this or what have you. So yeah, I definitely, I know what we're saying about the kind of prequels have less time on screen, but I just feel like some of the storytelling and certainly the dialogue, and you know, we've talked about Obi-Wan and Anakin just being better, well-rounded characters. It's not like it's a kids' TV show, but you know, there's more depth to them than there is on the live action counterpart.
It's weird because I think I would probably prefer it if Lucas was still involved with Star Wars as a whole, but he was more of like, he had his own little division, kind of like what Filoni's got at the moment. You know, I know Filoni recently got promoted, but Filoni handled most of the animation-y stuff. He did things like Resistance, which didn't really land. He did Tales of the Jedi, that's quite cool. It's got some very cool parts in it, and other parts that aren't quite as good, but it's generally quite a good watch. Clone Wars is really good, but a little filler. And then Rebels, a bit slow to start, but really cool. So, and then he's done Bad Batch, which again is good, but that's quite a bit of filler in that. So Filoni is good, generally what he does. And George Lucas and Filoni are quite similar in a lot of ways. You know, just one of the reasons why Ahsoka maybe didn't land in the right way is because Filoni was at the helm, and he's not as good in certain elements as others. He kind of needs a bit of that. But so does, you know, Lucas. You know, the original Star Wars trilogy, he didn't write and direct all of it. There was heavy editing from his wife. There's a lot of people who did rewrites. There's actors who say certain lines and things. And then obviously the second and third film in the trilogy were both directed by not George Lucas. So I think that Lucas, I view him as almost this spewing consciousness of what Star Wars could be. And you kind of need someone in front of him with a big filter to cut out at least half of it. And then you need someone else to go, okay, of the half of this stuff we've got, let's give this portion to these people who do stuff really seriously, like Tony Gilroy of Andor. Let's get this bit, let's put that to the really kiddie stuff, like Young Jedi Adventures. Let's move this over here and put this as connective tissue to what we're going to make the movies go on. Let's do, you know what I mean? He's got all these great ideas, but it's just the mess of the prequels is because George Lucas had free reign. And I think we've spoken about that quite a lot. But he did have a lot of really great ideas. And that's undeniable.
Yeah, that's how I feel, that he's very much the ideas man. They just need someone who can go, that's good, but we just need to tweak these things. It's like, I suppose Filoni is a little bit. I've been watching lots of stuff with Sam Witwer when they're interviewing him, and it's like when he got the Star Killer role and that in the games, and he kind of explained about taking the lightsaber apart, and he was saying that he'd done like 4 or 5 takes, and the guy said, "Look, each time you do it, you do certain things differently, but the meditation is the same, but like you're all angry." And he says, "Well, yeah, because Vader taught him, didn't teach him how to meditate. It was like a pain." And it's like the thing I linked to you today about the Vader in the meditation state. It is that anger that, you're forcing things to work. Someone like that would be great to have. I think he should be more involved with Star Wars going forward, because he gets it.
Yeah.
And that. Now you need someone to come in with the ideas, but you need someone who can then connect all the dots and make it work. And that. So Lucas, without him, we wouldn't have this at all. So he needed to be reined in a little bit. And then just like I say, you put all your ideas on the whiteboard, and then we will organize it so that it works. Because it's like there was an interview where they said, "Oh, where did Obi-Wan come from?" And he starts making it up, and the interviewer's like, "Don't just make this up." And it's like, and you can see the brain ticking, and he's just making it up as he goes along.
Stew John. He called it Stew John because Jon Stewart asked him what Obi-Wan's home planet was, and that's canon. But Stew John's basically never really shown anywhere in canon because no one wants to touch it because they all know it's kind of a joke. So originally he was from Coruscant before then.
But at the same point, it's like I'm reading some comments and people saying, "You can't just make this up." It's like, it's all made up.
Yeah.
Everything is made up. That, so he can call it what he wants, to be fair.
Yeah,
As long as it fits into it, if you can fit it in a certain way, then it, sorry, we went off topic. But
No. It's hard to talk about Star Wars without talking about George Lucas. And again, Clone Wars is the last real thing he's made that really is connected directly to what he's actually written. So that we've spoken about the Mandalore stuff quite a bit, and we can delve back in there if needs be. But we got the next 3 episodes, which is Senate Murder, Cat and Mouse, and Bounty Hunters, all one-off episodes. Senate Murder is all about Padme and politics and things, and Bail Organa and Mon Mothma show up. You got Cat and Mouse, which is the prequel to the movie, and introduces Admiral Trench, the spider chap, who's a Harch species. And you've got Bounty Hunters, which is set after the first 3 episodes of this season of the Clone Wars, so it's all the ordering of it is quite weird. But as you know about those bounty hunters trying to protect from pirates, and one of the pirates is Hondo, and he's very much a villain in that. So there's the 3 sort of middle episodes. So if I go to you first, Dave, of those 3, Senate Murder, Cat and Mouse, Bounty Hunters, did you have a favourite? And if so, tell us about it and we'll delve in.
I absolutely loved Senate Murders.
Interesting. Okay, tell us about it.
I don't quite know why. I guess it's almost like Cluedo, or in the Star Wars universe, and Padme gets on a full-on Miss Marple. You've got this kind of whodunit mystery, and then, because Senator Farr is killed and poisoned, but everyone loves him, and then you find out. So not only do you have the murder mystery stuff, but you also find out the motivation for killing him off was someone from his home planet. And it's like, this guy fucked up, and he was trying to atone for it, but he massively fucked up.
Did you recognize him from the previously in the Clone Wars? Did you recognize that he was?
No.
Okay.
Was he the guy on with Jar Jar?
Yes. He was in Bombad Jedi.
Jedi.
He betrays Padme to the Separatists in the Jedi. The Jar Jar Binks Padme episode where he swims in the water, and that's where he's from. He betrayed Padme in that episode. That's the sins he's trying to atone for.
Anything kind of with Jar Jar Binks, I try and
Blind
shelve
spot.
off. Yeah, I just, the only thing I remember about that is, despite the fact I know he survives, there was that fleeting moment where you think he might be killed off. That's the only thing I remember from that episode. But that's interesting that, because I just assumed that was like, something in the wider, something off panel, if you like. But no, I thought, again, one of those deep concepts where, not everyone is aligned to the goodies or everyone is aligned to the baddies. You've got, all planets don't conform. They say, okay, we're on this side, and everyone get into line. So yeah, I thought I really, really enjoyed that. I like the murder mystery stuff anyway. I don't know why. Like when I was a kid, I used to hate like Murder on the Orient Express or something. I guess it's a getting older thing, I guess. You just like these things a bit more. But yeah, I felt like it was a really kind of mature episode, and it showed Padme, to really have some chops there, because a lot of the time in the movies, she's just there for a bit of eye candy, quite honestly, and she starts off really strong, doesn't she, and then fades away, to nothing pretty much. So yeah, that was my favorite for sure.
Amazing stuff. And I will just say about that episode as well, my note here is the Clone Wars Padme is powerful. She's just a badass. Yeah. She's really cool. And also, I've been wrong in numerous episodes of the pod we've done, the Andor ones. So probably the last 4 years of podcasting, no one should listen to me about Star Wars because I've been saying wrong Star Wars information. I've been saying Genevieve O'Reilly, who plays Mon Mothma in Revenge of the Sith and Andor, plays her in the Clone Wars and Rebels. She does play her in Rebels. She does not play her in the Clone Wars. I've been wrong about that. Genevieve O'Reilly played Mon Mothma in Revenge of the Sith, then didn't reprise the role again until Rebels and then Andor, and from there she's now done everything since. But in Clone Wars, it was someone called Kath Sosi. So apologies. I want to make that known because I was like, oh, she sounds a bit different, but I'm fairly certain it was Genevieve O'Reilly, and it was not. So
does she turn up much more through the series?
There's a few. I wouldn't say a lot. Bail Organa's in more. Mon Mothma I think is only in maybe 4 or 5, maybe.
I felt that she was present, but she didn't do anything.
No, she has more of an impact in Rebels.
If you didn't know it were Mon Mothma, you would just think there's just another lady there. More
or less, yeah. So she does appear in a few more from memory, but it's not. I don't remember her impact being the same as it is when it's in Rebels. There's a lot more weight to it, and then obviously in Andor, she's like a main character almost. I
think for me that's the problem with Mon Mothma. I just struggle to care about her, like in most representations of her. Mm-hmm. But in Andor, she comes across like a really strong character, and you can see she's got clear motivation. You can see she's in a very threatening position, and you really kind of care about her. Whereas she's kind of in the background in most of the other things.
She is. No, I definitely agree. Maff, do you have any mention of Senate murder? And then from there, what was your favourite of Cat and Mouse or Bounty Hunters? Or Senate murders, if that also was your favourite. Like, what do you think of Senate murder? And then what was your favourite of these 3 individual ones?
Senate murder, I don't think I was quite as, pulled into that one. It was nice to see Bail Organa in there. But again, I felt that it's like, I always felt that I'm sure that's Mon Mothma, but she's not really doing anything. But I did like the fact that we've got Star Wars without any lightsabers, without anything like that. It would just kind of, again, it was a story-driven part of this, and it showed Padme kind of doing what she can do. So I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it, but it just kind of, it was one of those ones where they were kind of showing you red herrings all the time. It was like the lady who does the clones.
Lana Say, I think her name is, or Lama Sue.
The
Kaminoan.
she sounds a bit bad and she looks like she's a bit of a baddie, but she's obviously not.
So it's not either of those names, but it is it's a Kaminoan senator. I can't remember what her name is.
It was all the murder mystery tropes, though, wasn't it? Because she says some stuff. Yeah, I hated him. It's like, oh, it's you definitely, and then someone else says something. Oh, you're a bastard, and then, oh no, but they've been killed now. It's every murder mystery basically.
Yeah, it is.
Who was the vampire type looking one? Was that me?
The vampire type looking one.
It was the other guy who actually got killed by the dagger. They came in and he's like turned him around in the chair and he's there with the dagger stuck through his heart.
Oh God!
I can see it, but I don't know what his character. I don't know anyone's character name though. To be fair,
I've got. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Maff.
It was very much he had that kind of Transylvania voice to him.
Yes. I know. No, I remember what you're talking about. I can see him as well. I wonder if he's an Umbaran. I'm actually looking up. I'm looking up the episode because I was trying to find another detail about that episode in particular. But I will say I was quite neutral on it really because I liked it, but I wasn't like super into it. I was like, yeah, this is cool. I like this. But I'm not. For me,
it was called Me Dietrich.
Very nice, very good looking up there. Yeah, I like the episode, and I think it's got some cool stuff to it. And I think the best bit is showing off how amazing Padme is. But I think that the rest of it, I thought Inspector Devo was quite irritating, and it being a murder mystery, like I really like Knives Out, and I thought Glass Onion was cool. But I watched the new Murder on the Orient Express with Gal Gadot and the guy who plays Gilderoy Lockhart, whose name always escapes me. No, I can't remember. I just want a fan. I want to like murder mysteries, and when I like them, I really like them, but I haven't been as much of a fan. But Maff, so did you prefer Bounty Hunters or Cat and Mouse? What do you like of those two?
Cat and Mouse was the one with the cloaked ship, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the prequel one. It's got the spider guy who's called Admiral Trench, who's a harch species.
Now, because I don't think that they kind of alluded to it, but I don't think they did. Does Admiral Trench, did he have spider sense, basically?
I don't know if real spiders actually have. I don't know if real spiders actually have a spider sense. I think that's
kind of because it was like he.
I think he's just really smart.
Something were there.
I think it's just he could tell the thing, like his enemies aren't acting. It's kind of like Thrawn in certain ways, but a lesser version of Thrawn and Tarkin. Those kind of the strategists that are so clever that they're just like, this is so unusual. There's got to be something else here. They wouldn't just be doing this thing. There's got to be something else that they would be doing.
I didn't mind that. I quite enjoyed that. I like the fact that you saw Anakin going back to his. It's funny because the comic that I just finished reading. I think the Nine Sisters says that they're getting shot by the planetary system because their access codes aren't working. And she's like, "Have you got some dark force powers?" And he goes, "No, I've got skill." Because he's one of the best pilots, and you see that in there. You see him avoiding the lasers, and then the bit where he thinks, right, they have to lower their shields so that they can fire. So therefore, I'll use that against them. It's that side of Anakin where it's like we said in the previous one. He teaches Ahsoka to be able to pivot, to be able to adapt, and to think on her feet. And that's what Anakin does. He's very much kind of, let's see how this is going to work or play out, and we can kind of, adjust ourselves to kind of get the right result.
No, I agree. And that comes up in the sort of the finale arc as well with R2 Come Home. When, you've got Anakin and Mace Windu being together at the end of the series, which we'll get into. And you've got that Anakin, one of his biggest strengths is his confidence and his adaptability. He can just, in any situation, he finds a way out. And we get that all the way up to the way the Clone Wars season kind of finishes. You get to see some Anakin that's really close. It's the closest part between Revenge of the Sith Anakin and Clone Wars Anakin right near the end. It's really cool. And when you see that version of him, and you see like the kind of Jedi he could kind of become if he never fell to the dark side, and you're like, he's just so adaptable. And that's kind of Obi-Wan's weakness in a lot of ways. Obi-Wan is so to the rules and so to the book, and he's so good at what he does. But if things veer off like they do with Barriss Offee in the previous half of the season, I think it was. When that happens, a lot of the Jedi, just because they're so to the rules and they've never had to diverge from the rules, they've never really thought for themselves in a lot of ways, they're not very adaptable, which is another reason why Anakin, when he's Vader, is just so unbeatable. Because even if people beat him, no one ever manages to kill Vader, because he always manages to just about survive, or he always takes the person with him, and if anyone's played, there's no spoilers, but if anyone's played Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor, there's something about Vader in those, and you get to see this element of where, like, he's happy to die when he fights someone, but he pretty much always survives if he's like, oh, we'll just kill you and we'll both die. But he almost always survives that, and Anakin really has got that element. So what do you think, Dave, about that kind of commentary on Anakin and the cat and mouse kind of, and trench, that kind of element?
My mind was actually wondering to... If you, I'm sure Maff will have watched it, but have you ever watched the original Top Gun? Not Top Gun Maverick that came out.
I've not, in all honesty. So that's why I haven't seen Maverick. I'm sorry, friends. I'm sorry to embarrass myself.
I'd be curious what you think, because obviously in the mid-'80s it was massive. You had this Tom Cruise hunk in his prime and everything.
Volleyball scene, absolutely iconic. But you sort of watch it and you're like, you are a massive dick. You are just, you're in the military, and it's not all about you as an individual and what you do. And the kind of call sign is probably not by accident, Maverick, but he just fucking does what he wants, and he's an absolute liability. And Val Kilmer plays Iceman, and you kind of feel like he's a bit of a dick. You're watching it in the 80s and you're like, oh, you're a fucking knob, you are. Fuck off. You watch it now and you're like, no, he's right. Like, he is an absolute liability, and he shouldn't be allowed in the skies because he puts other people at risk. And so I when we're talking about Anakin and, his whole descent to the dark side, and it's like, part of me just thinks it is really forced, because it's like, oh yeah, well, it's because of his... because he never leaves a man behind or anything. And that shows he's got attachment issues and stuff, so that's what makes him bad. And I was just trying to square that circle in my mind, where it's like, well, I guess, again, it's down to the writing, isn't it? You kind of have to make him get from A to B, and but in another story. All of those things would just make him a great 80s action hero. He's adaptable, does anything, he wants, he breaks the rules because he doesn't play by the rules, proper 80s action hero. So yeah, that was my thoughts on Anakin, where, yeah, I just really like him as a character in this, and I can't really fault him for anything that he does, even though there's these little nods. It's like, oh, look, it's showing his attachment, and this is the path to the dark side. Like, fuck that. And you got people like Mace Windu, piss off, even though we've not got there yet.
Well, we're just waiting for Obi-Wan to say, mine's writing checks that your body can't cash.
Yeah.
Can I just go back a couple of episodes?
Do it.
Because we didn't mention this. The bit with, is it Tars Merrick?
Tars Merrick?
Yes. The guy who's, he kind of holds everyone at hostage at the end.
Oh, are you talking about, what, as in the Clone War, in the Mandalorian arc? Is that what you're talking about? Right, yes. I see. Yes, right. Sorry. Yeah. I think that might be his name. I have written it down somewhere, but I can't find it. But yes, when he was holding him hostage, you're going to talk about the scene where Obi-Wan refused to kill him.
Well, I've got it here. It says, what you're going to do, shoot me. And he turns to Satine and he says, you'll prove yourself a hypocrite and your passive ideas if you shoot me. And then he says to Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're no stranger to violence. If you kill me, you'll be a hero and to everyone on the ship. But not to everyone. And he kind of does that smirky thing. And then all of a sudden, a lightsaber just goes through him. And in the background, you just hear the Vader theme. And then, like, Anakin just obviously appear and, It's like, what? They were going to blow up the ship.
Yeah, he's so super casual about like literally just murdering someone.
I mean, you could have actually just chopped his hand off and caught the.
That's what Megan says.
You know, but I just love that point where again it was another one of them points where Filoni's like, remember where he's going to go, and that. But it was the touch of the Vader theme that I thought was very, because I rewound it and thought, I'm sure I heard that right. And yeah. But yeah, sorry, I just had to go back on it.
It's a very good catch. I didn't catch it when I watched it, and I completely believe you fully, because that scene is a weird one, because it really shows. It's like, well, Satine won't do it because she's a pacifist, and Obi-Wan's got his principles, but Anakin does. Anakin is all about the end result. Anakin's all about utilitarianism, which it shows a little bit. It gives you hints of it in Attack of the Clones when he talks about fascism, and Padme is like, oh, okay. That's okay, Annie, don't worry about it. Ha ha. You're so funny.
It's fine. Don't worry, they're there.
Yeah, they're there. Come straight into my corseted breast. But it's one of those where, like, he talks about that, and then when you see him, whenever he's in these scenarios, there's the Zillo Beast episode, which we'll get into shortly, where he also is with Palpatine, and, like, Padme's trying to be like, aren't you supporting me? And he's like, Palpatine does make a good point. And he's always about the means to the end. And that's what Palpatine knows. Because you can basically, in extreme examples, you can kind of convince almost anyone to do almost anything if the end goal is some sort of utopia or peace or justice. It's the fascist handbook, And it's something that whenever someone kind of turns, the most compelling turn is always when it starts off being something good. Breaking Bad, he's trying to survive and provide for his family and not go bankrupt. And then it kind of develops into something more. And I think that this, again, shows that, where he's just like, yeah, he does say it in a very glib way. He's going to blow the ship. Of course, I'm going to literally murder someone. Like in the animation of Clone Wars and especially in Rebels, you don't really get people killed in that way very often. Like a main character will fall off a bridge, or they'll have like a blaster bolt reflected at them, or another baddie will be convinced that they're good and then they'll kill the bad person. So Ezra doesn't have to murder this person. Or there are loads of face the stormtroopers that just, oh no, you slashed his weapon and kicked him, so he's knocked out. He's not really dead. This is, like, literally the man here, and his whole chest convulses upwards at the force of Anakin pushing a sword, essentially, through the center of his chest. And he's just there in shock and horror after telling Obi-Wan he wouldn't do it. And that moment is just, it's so well done. And in Cat and Mouse, it does show that, not to the same extent, but Anakin, as Dave said, he'll just do what he wants. So when in a wartime where using the dark side and doing all these things that go against the rules actually get rewarded, it fosters this problem child. Whereas if it was any other time in galactic history, there's never really been a reason good enough to justify the means in that way, because most of the Jedi conflict between the end of the Sith Wars, 1,000 years prior to this, and the Clone Wars, there's some High Republic stuff here and there which does delve into it, but those conflicts are only over a few years. But it's like the being in this conflict zone, being in a thing where you're rewarded for murder, like it just unbalances Anakin in a certain way, and it kind of shows that. And Ahsoka, again, in the prior episode we touched upon that.
That's the problem all along with the Jedi, is the fact that we said last time when they kind of all go in at Cad Bane, if it fits, it's fine. If it doesn't fit, if it's no, because that is just murder. Yeah, but he was about to kill everybody on the ship, so he had to kind of do something. We had to kind of go into Cad. Well, I suppose you didn't have to, but we went into Cad Bane's, mind. So we get it. You were fine with that, If they'd have found out what he did later on with the other guy when he force shot him, they probably wouldn't liked it. But same result. So it depends where they are. And I feel that's, that's where the Jedi fall down, because they're not prepared to look at things in a different way. And that
it's part of it's a bit of part of the human condition, I feel, though. And you see this on a macro scale, in global politics and everything, that people will condemn when someone else does something, and spin that in a very negative way, and then do the same thing, but totally justify it.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to kill them because, we were starving. And that, well, no, that's wrong. Right? You can't do that. But I'm going to press the mute button because we don't like you anymore. That's fine. It's hypocritical. Which I mean, Merrick says that. He says that to Satine, you're going to be a hypocrite if you do this. And that unfortunately didn't bank on the fact that Anakin would be.
But building off Dave's point, though, it's one of those things with morality that's always why I think moral philosophers get themselves in such a tizzy, because when you scale up morality, it becomes very dicey. Because if this is going to be a very dark thing, but if you had someone who broke into your house and was about to assault a member of your family and you killed them then and there, that's like you just had a gun, you say it was America, or you had a bat or something, you just hit them once and they just went down dead. Not even a full gunshot, you were just defending them, they're about to jump on a member of your family, hit them off once, dead. Very few people would argue that was a wrong thing to do. Very few people. And then you go, well, if I did that and there were 2 people in the house? They go, yeah, okay, I guess that'd be fine. What if there are 5? And you go, well, okay, 5 people, and you knew for certain they were all going to assault your family. Yes. You could maybe argue that scaling up into fitting in your house in a reasonable, non-John Wick way, someone coming into your house to abduct your family or something, if you kill them in self-defense, that's a fairly, not quite moral reasoning, but people can accept that, especially if you're not going out with a malicious intent to kill them. Then it gets dicey when you go into things like preventative measures, this person hasn't done this, but I know they will. Or they've done something previously that they were punished for, but I don't think they were punished enough for it. And then you can go down these very difficult, complicated moral decisions. And I think what the Clone Wars does, even though it is, as we always say, it's a kid's show, it dances on that morality line, which is like, at what point do you give like an inch for your morals in this way or an inch in that? And every time you give yourself this little extra step, morality wise, a reasoning behind, a justification for your action, every little inch you take, you never fully actually go back. And that's human nature. When you make that one exception, when you say you're going to go on a big diet and then you make the one exception for takeaway, a lot of the time, then you'll need to actually go on another diet again at some point in the future to be able to come off it. A lot of the time that makes people fall off the wagon, in air quotes. Same with addiction. It's harder to go cold turkey in a lot of ways, but once you're off it, it's much easier to not relapse. So it's harder there. You're more likely to relapse if you have the thing you're addicted to one more time. There's things like that in the human condition. I think its morality is a similar thing where you have to be quite strict with it. And Obi-Wan, I think, always has been. There's a line Obi-Wan won't cross, and we see that's consistent throughout his entire life. And that's what makes him this degree of a Jedi that is kind of, angelic in a certain way. Whereas Anakin will always cross the next line. He'll always do bigger and more dramatic and more bombastic. And that's one of the personality traits of him that really becomes apparent in this episode. So I want to delve, we've got 3 more loose episodes in air quotes to deal with. We've got Bounty Hunters, the Zillo Beast, and then the ending part. So we'll delve into Bounty Hunters. So this introduces Embo, and he's a species which is Kyozo, which is the name of an Akira Kurosawa character from Seven Samurai. And the Kyozo characters are really cool. This episode had some amazing action, mainly Embo, who's badass. He's got the big sort of hat shield thing, kind of Captain America-esque. He's jumping around and using it to block things and hit people with it. And it's just him with a couple of bounty hunters and then a very villainous Hondo. So, Dave, what do you think about this? The bounty hunters, the Akira Kurosawa stuff, and Hondo being a bit more villainous. And I just want to throw it out there to both of you. Obi-Wan is definitely flirting with that Zabrak bounty hunter, and he turns on the charm. And a lot of women, you notice, you get a little bit later with the Asajj Ventress a little bit, and there's a couple of interactions Obi-Wan and Asajj have that I love. But he likes a bit of a bad girl sometimes. I like his flirting, and he gets some flirting reciprocal. So I want to know your guys' thoughts on that, starting with Dave.
I reckon Obi-Wan's a bit of a player off panel,
You're very charming, but I think, was Jedi on the streets but Sith in the sheets.
Yeah.
A little bit of force choke, but not too much. Not just
just a little force choke. I feel like he plays up the kind of charming Hugh Grant character almost, doesn't he? To turn it on with the ladies.
Polite.
Yeah, very charming. I've got in my notes here, Hondo being a prick again. You guys know I just don't like Hondo, and I don't know how they don't kill him off, to be honest. But here he's not kind of. he walks the line a lot of the time. He's a bit of a scoundrel, isn't he? Most of the time. Whereas here, he's just a straight up villain, and he only pulls out of the attack when it becomes a non-profitable venture for him. So I thought here it became less, I don't know, obvious that we've talked about Obi-Wan and he doesn't bend his morals at all. But I'm thinking, why doesn't Anakin just go and like just sort him out, take him off the chessboard? So yeah, I know you like him, Mike, but I just don't like him. I don't know what. With Vader, he's this kind of ominous, almost like this great white shark, a villain. But yeah, there's something about Hondo that just rubs me up the wrong way. But no, as a standalone episode, I think it was okay. I think the whole, what do you call it? The rise of the bounty hunters.
Yeah.
I think they probably started off with a vague plan, and then that was probably retrofit on it. It's like, oh yeah, we've got a few bounty hunter things there. That'll do. But yeah, as a standalone, I thought it was okay. And again, it's more, it's like a very small story, isn't it? This isn't about this big battle in the stars or anything. It's about someone who's just trying to ultimately make their way in the galaxy. They're just trying to get by. They're not fighters, and even though they're very keen for them to do it themselves, there's a bit of insurgency, a bit of a CIA type thing going on here, isn't it? Where you don't always have to be the people going in and rescuing everyone. You need to get people to fight for themselves. So I thought it was okay. And I thought as well it introduced us to that idea that the bounty hunters aren't always the baddies, and they're not always just gonna take the money from the highest bidder. They do, some of them operate by a code as well.
Yeah, I will say with this episode, what I didn't like about this episode was that I don't think it was tropey at this point. I think this was one of the first times they did it. But I just don't like the one-off episodes of anything where it's like, hey, here's a group of people who can't defend themselves, so let's train them to beat the oppressors. You get it in this. In Clone Wars, I think it happens 4 times. There's one instance where it introduces a certain character that appears in Rogue One and Andor, and in that arc, it's this again, but I think it's over 2 or 3 episodes. It happens in Rebels. It happens in Mandalorian Series 1. It happens in The Bad Batch. It happens, it's basically, and it's not just Star Wars, it happens like a couple of like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode. It happens in loads of different pieces of episodic TV where it's just, oh yeah, we need to help these people from the oppressors. Oh, but we can't. We're not fighters. Don't worry, we'll need you to be fighters because, when we're not around, we can't always defend you. Here, have some pointed sticks, do some stances, and, build a couple of trenches, and then also have a team of incredibly highly skilled bounty hunters or Jedi or something along your side who just, anytime it looks like it's going to go south, they ex-machina you out of it. It's fine. You'll be able to, loads of little dinosaur people, you'll be able to defend yourselves. No problem at all, apart from, you've got 5 bounty hunters and 2 or 3 Jedi with you. So it
is utter bollocks as well, isn't it? Because, think of it like, if you had a team of crack Marines, Hondo's gang here are cutthroat, aren't they? This isn't their first rodeo. And then these little dudes have basically got no chance. Can you imagine like a bunch of Marines going up, I don't know, a bunch of geek programmers that you've just dragged out of Silicon Valley and said, right.
Also, no one is over 4 foot as well. Yeah, let's not forget that because all the species.
Give you a couple of lessons of Tybo, and you'll be fine to go into hand-to-hand combat with these guys. No, they're just getting creamed in real life, aren't they?
Yeah,
it was very much Mulan. That kind of,
but without Donny Osmond making, Donny Osmond and Mushu. That's basically,
it's, and again, Obi-Wan was very kind of, he didn't want to get involved at all, and that it's only but again, that's a bit where Anakin, you see this side of Anakin, it's like, well, these guys can't defend themselves, so, and Anakin's been on that side. He was a slave. He was kind of, repressed from that, and people took advantage. So he's like, we can't just do nothing. and that. But yeah, get a couple of sticks and you'll be fine, guys. But also, by the way, you've got the Force and you got, some. I mean, the guy with the hat, and he were, it was something different. It reminded me of is it the guy with the umbrella, with the umbrella lightsaber?
Oh, in
And the duel.
Visions.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually the Sith that has the umbrella lightsaber, but
All right.
the Visions, the first season of Visions is, I believe, Japanese or at least Eastern art studios creating Star Wars, and Star Wars was always based on. Well, Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai has always been like a massive
because that was kind of the same story. Because it's just, this guy comes into the village to defend it, and it turns out actually he was a Sith. But again, same thing. You've got bounty hunters who you associate are bad guys, but they're not. They're actually protecting the town and that. So, but again, Hondo is very much kind of like. Actually, see, I like this when he's like, "Yeah, it's not worth it anymore. I'm not going to make anything of it. Off we go.
This venture is no longer profitable."
Yeah, he has principles. Although he would sell his mother, and that he still has certain principles that if it's not going to make money for him, there's no point doing it. So let's just walk away.
I think it's intelligence, not principles. I think it's like self. He's just so in it for himself that but he's also very intelligent. It's weird though, because this episode he does say die Jedi scum. And me and Megan were like, what? Hondo says that, but Hondo's like so neutral, and that's like a really weird almost Sith thing to say. But I think they were not, by this point they still hadn't really figured out what they were doing with Hondo. But it feels very disjointed because Hondo shows up in season 1 and he is a villain, but he's more of like a trickster villain. He's not like overtly evil. He's just captured the Jedi. He's in it for a profit, opportunity with Dooku and etc. And then you get this episode where he is overtly like bad, die Jedi scum, all that stuff, and then just gives up and flies away. But then, he pops up in, I think it's Lethal Trackdown, the very finale episode, and he just completely stays out of the conflict. Completely.
Well, no, he don't.
And then he does, and then he actually helps the Jedi a bit. But you know what I mean? Like,
again, it's from his put on, but he kind of goes in and he says, you're going to walk into trap. She's waiting in there, and he's like, "Why are you telling me so that I'm not involved? Because I know full well if you think I'm involved in any way, I'm next." So again, he's very much like you said. He's quite intelligent with the fact that if this goes sideways, which it probably will do, I better just kind of make sure that they're aware that it's nothing to do with me.
I think why I like him so much is he's not just a villain of the week. He's more like Loki in a sense of he reoccurs and he can be an ally, he can be neutral, he can be a story device, he can be evil, he can kind of be anything. And he's just so different to a lot of the other characters. Dooku is so serious. Very cool, but very serious. Palpatine is Palpatine, like, ultra scheming and evil and talking like this, And a lot of the other villains are just like, oh yeah, I'm in it for the money, or I'm a separatist leader, or I'm just here because I'm sick of the way the Republic's going, so I'm going to bomb a few people. Like, Hondo isn't like that. He's just kind of going in his own universe. And the fact that he's a pirate and he is a UFO, like a flying saucer, is just very entertaining to me. Just no reason. He's the only person in Star Wars, seemingly, at least in canon, that has a ship that resembles what the most stereotypical alien ship is in English, in world culture. I just think that's funny. But the episode itself was all right. But let's delve into, so there's 2 more bits to go. There's the Zillo Beast arc and then the trilogy arc of Boba Fett. So let's delve into the Zillo Beast. So Maff, what do you think of the Zillo Beast? Both episodes, the first and the second one. What are your kind of thoughts on this creature? Are you interested? Were you not? Think it's filler? Think it's good? What do you think?
It was very much, we said it earlier, very kind of Kong, Godzilla kind of thing to it. I like the fact that, I was sat there when they were talking about killing it off, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you've just said that this is probably one of its own, and that. Now, I don't think that's just say, but obviously it's the bomb that they're testing kind of sets all this off.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think Palpatine knew full well the Zillo Beast was in there, and that if he found an excuse to put his droid army on the planet so then he could use the bomb, so then he could get the Zillo Beast, so then he could then, obviously there was aware of the fact that he had this impenetrable armor. So I think again, it's that thing where Palpatine is so many steps ahead of everybody, and it's like, right, we'll put these pieces in play so that I can get the outcome that I need, and if it goes tits up, it goes tits up, but it's fine, because I'm several steps ahead because something else will come off from it.
But what do you think? Sorry, go ahead, Dave. Sorry, Maff, you had more to say.
Yeah, it's just when they kind of talks about killing it off, I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you guys are meant to be, peacekeepers, and that surely, if this is the final one, you should be trying to keep it alive, and that. But you can see that Palpatine's got other plans right from the start, and even the Doctor's kind of, no, I'm not happy with this. She was very reluctant to kind of do a job to start with.
Yeah, and did you think? It's interesting thing about Palpatine. I'm not sure if because Palpatine did seem surprised to me, but he could have been showing, him pretending to be surprised to everyone else who's watching, because the only times we ever see him is when he's kind of around people, and I did really like seeing him change between. But did you prefer the first episode where they find the Beast, or the second episode where it's kind of in Coruscant? Did you have a preference there, Mav?
I preferred when they found the Beast. And that's okay. So then you kind of, again, it was like a bit of a shock that, hang on, this is kind of cool. And then I'm trying to deal with everything. And again, what was the alien race, the dog race? Is that what Sebulba is?
Yes, Sebulba is a dog, yeah.
Right, because, and then again, they would just like, just kill it. And that, and it's like, whoa, no, hang on a minute, you can't be doing that. So I enjoyed that part more. I think when it was like, well, we're going to take it back to Coruscant, because that makes sense, something to take it to a high populated place. I thought, well, obviously we're going to get basically Godzilla, King Kong kind of, which is what we do get. So I don't think that was as good. I think the first one when we found it, especially the fact that I knew there was something going to be there because of the title.
This titles do often spoil episodes, unfortunately.
But until the bomb goes off, it's like, whoa, hang on a minute. This episode's taking a big left turn.
What do you think about these two episodes, Dave?
I think they're a bit filler for me. I wasn't really a massive fan of the first one. You get this. This is villain of the week stuff, or monster of the week for me. And then in the second one, where it becomes clear, okay, this beast might have some military interest. There might be something useful we can glean from that. I was thinking, okay, is this a little cheeky kind of Easter egg? Is this going to provide some armor for someone down the line? I genuinely don't remember if that is a thing, but I've put him in notes here, not really sure what the point was. So the only thing I can think is that we do pick it up at some point in the future. Otherwise, then they were two wasted episodes for me. So that's my only thing I'm clinging on to.
Yeah.
Am I right?
So, this is technically a slight spoiler, but I'll give it's the only spoiler I've ever given Math of anything outside of Clone Wars or anything. The Zillo Beast, the end of the episode, the Zillo Beast strikes back. Palp says you need to clone it. And it does not appear in the Clone Wars. But there is a season of a show which some call the spiritual successor of the Clone Wars, called The Bad Batch. And you might find your answer in Bad Batch.
Yeah, I guess I was hoping for a bit more when I was talking about an Easter egg. Something that tied to the live action or
not to my
movies
knowledge.
or something.
No, not to my knowledge.
Say they're related to the Rancor or something along that line.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Cool.
You got a big kind of beast. Is it some kind of cousin or?
No,
yeah,
not to our knowledge. It's literally just it just pops up. A version of it pops up again in Bad Batch, at least.
Two questions.
Yeah.
The speaker, the blue alien speaker with the giant horns.
Yes, Maz Almeida.
And that what race is he?
Chagrian.
Right. I don't know why I said she's not really going to make budget, but I just
he's a massive dick to Padme actually in Senate
to
Murders.
everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in this one as well. He says, or it might be Senate Murders, like, I think it is this one. Do you not have better things to do with your time? It's like, you fucking dick. You are the worst.
I think. I'm assuming he doesn't know that Palpatine.
Oh, he does. He fully knows. Yeah. In the Darth Vader comics you read, actually, I believe right at the start, he's burning lightsabers in the square of Coruscant, and he burns one of Yoda's lightsabers.
Yes, he's throwing it into the furnace, right?
Yeah. He's one of Palpatine's inner circle.
He's a bit slimmer there.
in Palpatine's inner circle, it's Maz Amedda, Sly Moore, who's an Umbaran, who's the same species as that guy you mentioned, Maff, in the Senate Murders episode. He gets killed, right. And Sly Moore's like Force sensitive to a degree, not quite as much of a Jedi or something, but she's in the 2020 Darth Vader comics quite a bit. And there's one or two other people who are very, very, very close to Palpatine, and either Maz Amedda did know that Palpatine was a Sith Lord, or when he turns into one, and Maz Amedda's there all the time and burning lightsabers and doing literally everything for him, he's just weirdly okay with it. But I'm fairly certain that a couple of people knew, because I think in Darth Plagueis, which is a great book, which is not canon, but it's so good as a book, and also there's only like two very, very, very minor details that would actually contradict canon. So you could literally edit 2 chapters and it would be canon. And it came out, after the prequels and things. And it's a great book, and it kind of talks about how Palpatine rose to power and how he hid the Sith part of him in a lot of ways. And it shows that certain points, the cracks show a little bit, but he kind of allows some people, because some people are easily manipulated out of fear. And if they know that he's actually a Sith Lord capable of shooting lightning out of his fingers and torturing you for like ever, you're much more likely to follow him, and you're much less likely to follow another politician that seemingly has more power. So, yeah, that was one of the questions. Did you have another question?
Yeah, the other one was, I know she's been in before, but the Blue Twi'lek, who's with Yoda.
Ayla Secura.
Was she in the one with Anakin where he was injured?
Yes, yeah. 100%, yeah. And you see her in Revenge of the Sith as well.
It's in points where he's like, do I think I know them? I don't know. Hang on a minute. I'm looking for my notes, and obviously it's trying to kind of work out who's who.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Amazing stuff. Well, if we've got, I will say Zillo Beast, I thought the design of the creature is cool. I think the first episode is also cool. I think the second episode's a lot weaker. I like where Palpatine's interacting with the Zillo Beast. I like showing how Palpatine doesn't care and Padme's impact there, but I feel like all of it could have been done in one episode, really. So we move on to the finale, the 3-part finale. I'm calling it the Boba Fett trilogy. So this is the first thing we've seen about Boba Fett since Attack of the Clones, where he, watches Jango Fett get decapitated by Mace Windu, and then goes down to the Colosseum in Geonosis and picks up the Jango Fett's head, or the helmet without a head in it. So Boba Fett being a kid in this one. So what did you think, Dave? Because, you enjoyed potentially Boba Fett a lot more growing up than we did. Like what? I can't remember what we discussed it much in Attack of the Clones, but did you find that, I think his name is Daniel Logan, the actor who plays young Boba Fett. Do you think he does a good job as young Boba Fett? Did you like Boba Fett being a clone of his dad and stuff? And then linking him with that opinion, what do you think of this little arc?
Yeah, no, I don't think Boba Fett had to be a clone or an unaltered clone. For me, growing up, he was just a badass. He just looked cool. And there was just this mystique about him. If you look back, it's ridiculous. He was essentially a bit shit, really. He pops up, looks hard in Empire Strikes Back, but then gets killed off in almost like a slapstick comedy way by Han Solo. Ridiculous. But, and yeah, the clone thing, I don't know. I can't say I love it. I'm at peace with it, but I don't think he had to be. It's one of those things where sometimes writers need to make the universe smaller.
Mm.
They need to have it to connect. Can't Boba Fett just be some random bounty hunter that's got no tie to every single clone in the Clone Wars? It doesn't have to be that for me. But I did like, I think just lumping all three episodes together,
Yeah,
I did like them. I didn't really understand. I'm nowhere near as good as you guys at remembering or even writing down all of the names. But oh, here we go. I have actually wrote it down. Aura Singh. Um,
Yes.
her kind of allegiance to Boba
Hmm.
seemed to go way beyond like what was necessary. Like, I mean, he is just a kid, but she seems to be willing to put her life on the line for Boba Fett at this point. I didn't really understand why, other than plot armor. But yeah, I thought it was good. And oh my God, in Death Trap, when Boba Fett leaves all his cadet, quote unquote friends to basically die, to drift off into space, I'm like, fucking hell, this is another moment where you're like, this is a kid's thing. I mean, okay, they die off panel. You don't get to see them suffocating and turn blue and everything, but yeah, I thought that was really cold.
Well, Anakin does at least, I think. Anakin does save them, at least, right at the end.
I
He
missed that bit. I must have had
he
a
does
brain
save
fart.
them, but I mean, let's be clear. Boba Fett blows up numerous parts of that ship, and you watch many of the clones get sucked out, like just
Yeah.
into the vacuum of space. So he legitimately killed a lot of people. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but he was willing to kill those clones, those other kids, 100%.
And I think it's one of those where, he's got such a singular vision, to get to avenge his father's death. He wants to kill off Mace. But he's kind of he is one of those where the ends justify the means. We say that about Anakin, and I think, you're watching this and you're thinking, well, Anakin is a better person than Boba Fett, even as a kid. Boba Fett is proper cutthroat at this point. But I mentioned it at the top of the show as well. I just felt like Mace Windu again just showed himself to be a tool and deserving of death. I mean, I've written it down here, like skipping right to the end, where Boba says to him, "I'll never forgive you," and he just says, "You're gonna have to." There's no way to try and he doesn't even try. He feels like Boba is just beneath him. He's not gonna attempt to rationalize it. He's not gonna attempt to get him on his side. He's just like it or lump it, mate. I'm a fucking Jedi badass, so way. So yeah, it didn't do anything to warm me. I love Samuel L. Jackson. I do think Mace Windu is a badass, but he is also an ass.
Very nice. Well, I will say just quick. Daniel Logan does play young Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones. He does voice Boba Fett as well in these episodes, which is good. I like it when you get those actors who do that. And then also Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson is a badass, and the guy who voices him in the Clone Wars series is Terrence T.C. Carson, who also does a stellar job. But Maff, what do you think of the Boba Fett ending trilogy? The first two are much more similar. One's Death Trap on the ship, and then R2 comes home, is, yet another bomb. And then the third one is when Plo Koon and Ahsoka are pursuing them. So what do you kind of think of these, and what do you think of Boba Fett, like, as a kid and stuff?
I didn't particularly like him at that house. And that,
I'm not sure you meant to be honest.
No, well, obviously not. He's trying to, but he's kind of torn into because he just wants to get Mace.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't actually want to kill anyone else. But then he didn't realise the fact of, what he's doing is actually hurting a lot more people. And that until I think it's in actually I had to come home. He realises, hang on a minute, we were just going to kill Mace. It's going a bit too far. This, but then in the final one, he ends up going off for the bounty hunters, and you can understand then why he becomes a bounty hunter himself, because he's hanging around with them. I was actually a bit surprised. Jumping around again. That final episode when they go drop off one of the bounty hunters was like, I don't want anything to do with this now. It's going a bit too far. I actually thought they were just going to put a bullet or a laser through him, and that. I mean, Hondo does kind of say, "Oh, you couldn't handle her. Not many people can."
Yeah.
And but so obviously she's gone through quite a few different crewmates, but I suppose killing them all wouldn't be a good idea because there won't be any left. But yeah, I think seeing all the different young clones as well. Again, they're all the same looking, but they all look different at the same time. It's quite once
great for animation budgets as well. To clarify, it makes it a lot easier to animate.
Well, yeah, but it's same with voice as well. Whenever you hear the voice, it's the same voice.
Yeah, D. Bradley Baker
with the droids, Roger, same voice. You can get away with an awful lot there, and it's amusing sometimes to see the same voice. You hear the same voice, and they look slightly different. It's like, oh yeah, okay, the clones, it makes sense. But R2, it steals the show. It really does.
So is this your favourite episode, R2 Come Home?
It is. It's just, I mean, the fact that it's like, again, two quite powerful Jedis, and I've seen Jedis pull Star Destroyers down, but yet they can't lift up a bit. Now, I get it. They kind of played along the lines of the ship would fall apart and all this and another, but in which case, one of you lifts the metal up and the other one hold the ship together. Surely working together and that, but
it was a bit weak, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a little line of dialogue to explain why they can't just get themselves out of it.
Yeah. Maybe they've trapped the hands so they can't move the hands, or they've broken their arm or something.
They're
like
meant to be
that.
able to use the Force. The only reason people use the Force look out with their hands is meant to be to visualize what you're doing more. That's why Vader, in a lot of the comics especially, he can just be laying down and strapped down, and he can just move stuff all around him because it's meant to be. And that's why, like, Palpatine can do it without even lifting a finger, why he can do these subtle things. So I will say, I think it is a pretty weak explanation. I think it would have made a lot more sense if they'd have just been knocked out, and then it was R2 was like zooming around, and it was like slowly crumbling, and you could see like it was falling off the edge of a cliff or something, and they had a certain amount of time before it would just tumble and fall. I think that would have made more thematic sense rather than, oh yeah, they're both kind of awake, and they're kind of having a bit of back and forth, but they're definitely not awake enough because they're definitely injured, but not too injured that they can't move the ship. I'm like, just biggest force push you can go and just jump. That's what I've done.
But it did lead on to, it felt like Home Alone, and that R2 basically going around and dropping stuff down the shaft, so closing the doors, and that it just, again, whenever R2's there, I do really like him. I don't like him as much Chopper. Chopper is always going to be my favourite.
That's Dave's favourite as well.
He's awesome.
He's awesome. It's same as, C-3PO can go fuck off, but, 000, brilliant. But yeah, he's just, he's like, I mean, I watched the thing earlier, and Dave Filoni is like, says, R2 is like the loyal dog, just with more gadgets. And he is. He's always there for Anakin, and Anakin can put his trust in this little droid no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I enjoyed that. Then obviously we get to the final episode, and Hondo is very much like, it's a trap, don't kill me. And that, but I like that as well, because we get Plo Koon in that, and
Plo Koon's great.
He's another one of those that I'd like, I hope we get more and more as we kind of go along, and that, and him and Ahsoka, and that. It's a shame that they're not kind of together more. The fact that, because was he?
He found her. He found her on the planet that she's from with the Togruta people. So she's always got this connection to him because he was her first interaction with the Jedi. He was also very kind. And I would be interested to see, like, I wonder if she, when she was a youngling, was thinking, I'm probably going to be adopted almost by Plo Koon. Because he did have the Padawan, the Mon Calamari, who obviously could kill. No, that was Kit Fisto, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, that was Kit Fisto. I'm getting them confused. I think he did have some sort of apprentice or something, but I'd be interested because you think maybe they almost went, you can't have her as an apprentice because you guys were already too pally.
Attached. Yeah.
But I think the Ahsoka we see in Rebels and then in Ahsoka wouldn't be as powerful and as brilliant as she is if she was Plo Koon's. Because I think that Anakin, and we see it a little bit in other bits of Star Wars content that I'll delve into when we finish Clone Wars, but there are points where Anakin pushes her to like the brink to be able to survive things that she shouldn't really be able to survive, but because she's like, why do I have to do this? And he's like, just in case. She was like, but this situation's never going to occur. And he's like, it doesn't matter. You need to be able to survive anything. And he'll push her to that limit that a lot of other people won't.
In Order 66, do we see Plo Koon?
Yes, unfortunately.
In
Revenge of the Sith, he gets shot down in a starfighter.
Oh, right.
Which is very upsetting.
Right. I was just wondering if it's a long time since I've seen it, so I can't remember, but I wouldn't mind have seen him again, maybe if they brought him in at Ahsoka Season 2.
Well, he was rumoured to be in Mandalorian Series 2 instead of Luke Skywalker. That was all the concept art. They basically fooled all the crew to say Plo Koon was coming back somehow. And then
Ventress.
And then they did the twist.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Somehow Plo Koon returned. Exactly. So I just want to... We're going to wrap up here because it's getting a bit late. But I wanted to ask, so just quick, Dave, of these three, so is this your favourite arc of this half, these 3 episodes? The Boba Fett trilogy? Or was it... I know you really like Senate Murder, but like...
I think... Probably, yeah. I mean, as a standalone episode... Like I say, I'm not even a massive fan of murder mysteries, but something about having the murder mystery in the context of this animated Star Wars universe I really liked. And in the same kind of vein, when you had Ahsoka and Plo Koon working together, I kind of like that as well. And, he's given her little bits of advice about standing out and, being patient and stuff. So, yeah, I think this was good, and it also, it does sort of tie back to the main prequel sort of storyline as well, in terms of like where Boba Fett's coming from and Mace Windu. But again, you're sort of thinking the fact that you had Mace Windu and Anakin there. You'd think, and trapped and potentially going to die. You would think that is a real bonding moment, but he's like, yeah, it's still not going to be a Jedi master, you arsehole.
Well, Mace thanks R2D2, do you remember? Yeah. He's like, good job. And then Anakin goes, it's the most he's ever given me. And then Mace is just like,
Yeah,
it's just like, you suck. You're the worst.
He just hates him, doesn't he?
Yep.
So... Yeah, no, they're really good episodes, and I think the moment of all of it for me is just when Boba, basically sends his friends, quote unquote, to die. So yeah, that was a good moment.
I like Boba being able to use the guns and being amazing at that. I really liked that part. I also liked jumping back actually to the Cat and Mouse episode that we spoke about. Wolf Yularen actually works with Anakin. I forgot to mention that. So Admiral Yularen, he's the same guy who basically narrates the Clone Wars at the start. And he works with Anakin quite a lot. And Cat and Mouse shows them working together basically for the first time. And that's when Yularen becomes kind of the Admiral for Anakin's general.
Yeah, I find that weird because you get him in the intro, that voice in the intro.
Yeah.
But then when he appears in the episodes, it sort of takes me out of it because I'm like, you're the like war reel type guy.
Because voiced by Tom Kane, and I don't know if if it's meant to be Yularen actually narrating it or if it's just the same voice, but it is like you have the same voices. But Yularen does pop up in Andor. In a couple of the Imperial Security Bureau parts, he becomes one of the heads of the ISB. So he does appear with a speaking role in, I think, the announcement episode.
In the big room?
Yes, he's got a very powerful moustache.
Yes.
That's how you can always pick him out of a room. And he's also in A New Hope as well. That's where he first was. Just a little background character, Yularen. And then he's this quite large character of importance in Clone Wars and Andor. But so last questions for the both of you, and then we'll wrap up.
I'm going to say one thing, though.
Do it.
It did make me laugh with Boba Fett where one of the clone troopers finds him in the reactor. He's like, what are you doing here? And he says, "Oh, I got lost." And then he mentions the gun, and the clone trooper goes, "Here you go, hold my gun." And then he sets it to, he stuns him, but then he goes to blow the ship up.
Yep.
It's like, well, why did you set it to stun? Why didn't you just kill him? Because you're going to kill everybody anyway. It seemed a bit of a point. It's like he was, I don't want to hurt anybody, but I'm going to blow everything up. And
I'll follow orders from Aura Singh, but I don't want to overtly kill people. Well, I think it's the disconnect, isn't it? Like if you blow up it's easier to blow up a building than it is to shoot 100 people.
Yeah.
Even if there are 100 people in the building, if
it's not my fault there was in there.
I get that. I will also say a little fun trivia about Aura Singh, which I always like to say, is you can see her in Phantom Menace, in the Bunta Eve pod race. When Anakin's going around there, she's standing on the ridge in I think it's the first or second lap, and you actually get to see her in that. And Megan always remembers that bit because it was the first bit of Star Wars trivia I think I told her watching the movies, and she was like, "Oh no, you're a massive bloody nerd." She didn't say that, but she was definitely thinking that. Yes. So final question as we wrap up, not only season 2 part 2, but season 2 as a whole. So as a very, very quick reminder for everyone, we have got, there's the whole Holocron heist sort of arc at the start. You've then got the 5-part Geonosis arc. You've then got Grievous Intrigue, The Deserter, and Lightsaber Lost. And then in this part, you've got the Mandalorian sort of trilogy arc, Senate Murder, Cat and Mouse, Bounty Hunters, the 2 Zillo Beast episodes, and the Boba Fett trilogy. So that's what makes up this. Do you guys have, I assume we all kind of probably unanimously agree that the Geonosis arc is phenomenal, and probably the best part of season 2. But aside from that, is any one-off episode or full collection that was your favorite outside of Geonosis? You may prefer one to Geonosis, I don't know. I know, Dave, you mentioned The Deserter. I know, obviously, Matthew mentioned Lightsaber Lost, etc. My personal favorite is the Duchess of Mandalore stuff. I really like the Mandalorian culture. I think it's quite interesting. This is my first interaction with it, but as Obi-Wan's always been one of my favorite characters, and people in the video in a very low-res way will see here, I've got the Clone Wars version of Obi-Wan because he's my favorite Obi-Wan. I'm sorry, Ewan McGregor. But just sassy Obi-Wan from Clone Wars, he's got so much depth, and his relationship with Satine when he said, "I would have left the Jedi Order for you," that moment always stays with me. It's just something that I'm like, it really shows that Obi-Wan's kind of acceptance in a way, or willingness to look the other way for the obvious stuff that's going on with Padme and Anakin, how blatant it must be for Obi-Wan. And we get a little bit more of that, trickling of that in the future episodes and seasons of the Clone Wars. But I love that, and I think that kind of lends itself to showing that Obi-Wan's real love for Anakin, of like, he has that sympathy, but the main key difference between Obi-Wan and Anakin is that Obi-Wan chose the Order and Anakin chose love in the nice way. Maybe he chose the Space D, but we'll say love. We'll say love. It's a lot nicer than this weird possessive love. But Dave, what's your favorite episode or arc or whatever? What's your favorite stuff about the whole of season 2? Was it Geonosis? If so, you can give another one, but what's your kind of thoughts as we wrap up?
No, I was just furiously going through my notes here on my table where I've got little notes beside each episode. I think it is the Deserter that you mentioned there that is my favorite out of the whole season. I think the whole season is definitely stronger than the first, but I do feel like it's quite lumpy.
Yeah.
It's not. It is one for completionists. It's not going to be for everyone. But I think the things that I really enjoy about this looking across the whole Clone Wars season or series is that where it explores the morality again of the clones, these things that have been bred to be soldiers, but they are all individual things. Do they have a soul, if you believe in a soul and whatever? And just because they were bred for that, does that mean they just have no rights? They have no choice. They just have to become this thing. And then, is it theirs to do or die, as the poem goes, or do they have choices in life? And I like exploring that whole morality piece and the fact that they can do it in this cartoon, but have these real serious underlying themes as well. So I know that's for me just a taster of some of the stuff that's going to come that I really enjoy.
Amazing stuff. So, Maff, your sort of favourite moments or episodes and stuff, and final kind of thoughts?
I think actually going back to the Geonosis side was good. I actually quite like the Weapons Factory, the one with where Ahsoka and Barriss gets trapped.
Yeah.
Thinking back, the fact that Anakin, it shows that Anakin's teaching actually paid off for Ahsoka, and also Anakin not giving up on his, honor, and the fact that it's like, I don't know if that's. I think that's the episode as well where she says that she's worried about Anakin. When the war finishes, what will he do?
Mm-hmm.
And well, we know what he'll do. And that, but I think actually that's probably one of the ones that stands out the most. The Geonosis, I do wonder whether maybe that should have been kept to the end. But I think we discussed it because they release it in a certain way. I think that one finished just before Christmas, so maybe they thought, look, we'll get this in and get everyone back into Star Wars, and then I think the season trails up a bit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah, I think the weakest part of all of the seasons, I think it probably is in this. I think it's probably Cat and Mouse, Bounty Hunters, and the 2 Zillo Beast episodes. I think that's probably, although there's good bits in them, and to be fair, I wasn't as much. I think there's less meat on the bones of Senate Murder as well, to be honest. So I think that you've got the strength of the first season. You've got Grievous Intrigue that's all right, but it is quite cool. And then you've got Lightsaber Lost that's all right. But you do get the whole, teaching Ahsoka patient stuff. But, aside from that, you then get the Mandalore stuff that's really cool. But then Senate Murder, Cat and Mouse, Bounty Hunter, Zillo Beast, and Zillo Beast Strikes Back. It's all just kind of not very consequential, I think. And I think you could pull those episodes out, and as well as Grievous Intrigue and Lightsaber Lost. And then you'd probably have a really much higher quality season. It would be a lot more equal pacing, I think. But it's interesting. I'll say my favourites of this, was definitely the Mandalorian stuff. I loved that. And I will say earlier, when Megan left, I said that the next season starts off, there's a water themed episode arc. I was wrong. That's season 4. That's when the animation really steps up. But I'm pretty certain in season 3, the animation steps up again. The first 2 episodes, they are set chronologically differently, but they are part of the same arc, so I'm very excited to hear what Maff thinks about those first 2 episodes. I'd say anyone watching along as well, the first 2 episodes of season 3, watch them together. I think they're called Supply Lines and Arc Troopers. Watch those 2 together. And interestingly enough, though, chronologically speaking, the next episode that's set directly after Lethal Trackdown, episode 22 of the season, is actually the 5th episode of season 3. So can't wait to talk about season 3, where it's all up and down, here, there, and everywhere. But the first episode of season 3 is before the Clone Wars movie. So it's set back really far. It's the earliest episode that we've got going in animated stuff. I think. No, sorry, it's just after. I got this wrong. It's just after the theatrical movie. So season 2, episode 16, season 1, episode 16, the movie, season 3, episode 1, season 3, episode 3. So it's interesting. There's a few back and forths. The first 3 episodes are actually its own little arc of season 3, but it's very exciting. We get a lot more clone stuff from memory, and it's going to be good fun. So, friends,
one more thing.
Tell us. Oh, go on then, Dave.
Sorry.
Dave,
Sorry.
God, your Maff. That's how late it's getting, because I'm now starting to. My eyes are blurring the 2 of you together.
I try not to go off on a tangent. It's because I'm being scrolled up and down IMDb.
No, it's fine.
When the dude just goes undercover.
Yes.
And that I don't understand why they do this all the time in a lot of films and things like that. If you're going to go undercover and you're going to be hiding, you wouldn't wear a bright red, shiny, flashy robe that she does. Now, Obi-Wan's fine because he's obviously in the brown robes like he always does, but I just sort of pictured it and I just thought, I'd written it in my notes. Why is she so flashy when she's trying to hide?
She's rich.
I know she's rich, but surely you just, pay someone on the streets, I'll swap ropes with you.
Do you remember in Attack of the Clones when Padme was trying to be incognito and she went on the public transport with Anakin? And she had that giant headpiece that was this big and all golden. And Jedi are also pretty bad at going incognito a lot of the time, I will say. Star Wars, they don't know how to go incognito unless you're a bounty hunter with this. But we will wrap up here so we can do our plugs and go away. But yeah, season 3 starts off with some very exciting stuff. And then we've got more Mandalorian stuff to come, a couple of connections to the movie, and then some very interesting lore stuff that I'm very excited to get into. But unfortunately, the majority of that is in the second half. So it's going to be, the first half is going to be cool, but the second half is where we really get going. But what have we got going on? Well, as this comes out, which will be, I'm aiming for sort of late March, so only be a few weeks after the previous episode, because the previous episode I released a little bit late because we had Comics in Motion 1000. So it was the 1000th episode of Comics in Motion, released on the 6th year anniversary of Comics in Motion, which was Dave and Chris's sort of flagship podcast for a while, where they did TV and movie reviews, and then it grew and developed into, a lot of people listening right now to Comics in Motion, where this airs, as well as a lot of my other Star Wars content, Star Wars Comics in Canon, some of the other amazing shows that have been coming out as well on Comics in Motion, lots of cool stuff. So check out Comics in Motion 1000, as well as I also appeared on the VHS Strikes Back, which will be a few weeks ago when this comes out, doing Train Spotting, which is really cool. And I've got a recording with Chris as well in, I think it's next week, about Vegas, which is going to be very cool. That was the secret thing I teased before, but it'll probably be out around this sort of time anyway. So that's the fun stuff that I've got going on. You can find me at Genuine Chit-Chat. There's links in the description to the other stuff. Dave, what have you got going on, good sir? This will be coming out sort of mid-March, but you can say previous stuff so you don't spoil releases.
Well, you just mentioned about Train Spotting. I think that was possibly our longest episode we've ever done.
It's my fault.
But that was a lot of fun to do. I need to. I've obviously listened to it editing, but I want to go back and listen to that one myself. It was a lot of fun, that one. After that, so I know you guys have listened anyway, so it won't be spoiling it. But next week we'll be doing Shadow Warriors: Assault on Devil's Island, starring Hulk Hogan. This is, of course, Chris's pick, and is currently scored at 4 on IMDb, which is pretty terrible. 5 is like the terrible movie anchor for IMDb. Any lower than that, and you're talking about a real stinker. So that's something to look out for. And also, we're covering Married at First Sight Australia as well over on the CD Reality Cast, which is messy as always.
And Maff, you've got an upcoming recording with Spider-Dan. How many have you already done that now?
We've recorded it. It's probably coming out around about the same time as this is getting released.
Mm-hmm.
I think he said it's doing it back end of March, where we do a Clone Wars, so 2 films that are kind of similar, 8-legged freaks and Big Ass Spider. I've watched them both. We reviewed them.
Don't spoil what you said about them. Don't give it away.
No, it's a lot of fun. It's quite amusing. I think we talked for a couple of hours on the recording, but I think that night it was nearly 4.5 hours we were actually on call talking to each other.
Wow.
So there was a big chunk before, and it's like, maybe we should record. And then there was a big chunk afterwards, so it was kind of a bit of a therapy session between us both. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Amazing stuff. You got, and then where can people find each of you respectively on social media? Maff?
It's MaffUK78 on X, which I kind of use here and there.
A lot of us mainly use it just for sharing each other's stuff on there, really. It's just
to be fair,
to connect the networks.
It's Discord. I end up on Discord half the time because the people I really want to talk to are on there anyway. So, but yeah, if you really want to reach out to me, I am on there.
Amazing. And Dave, where can people find you? Also
on Twitter, now known as X, as Seattle Dojos. Also mostly post on Discord, so more of an X lurker these days.
Yeah, I haven't been posting as much on there either. I've been trying to spend my time doing more important things like reading, and mainly podcasting, to be honest with you. That's the main thing. I'm weeks behind on posting of social media, but the best way you can follow all of us is at Comics in Motion. Check out that 1000th episode, subscribe, check out all that great stuff.
I do have one other plug actually,
Do it.
and we're recording it tomorrow. But Chris and I will be appearing on Back to the Filmography. We will be doing Fast and Furious 7. Now,
Ooh.
for me, I'd only watched the first two. And so, and I'm aware that the franchise took a bit of a left turn and went a bit bonkers. So it will be my first venture into the later kind of Fast and Furious movies.
I can't wait. I love listening to Back to the Filmography. I know Maff's done quite a few episodes of those as well, with more to come, I'm sure. But we'll put links to those in the description. Comics Emotion 1000, check that out. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to watch all the video versions of these chats at youtube.com/genuine chit-chat. Playlists are there, as well as all my Star Wars and genuine chit-chat content. And those are the other cool stuff we've been going on. And myself and Megan have got a new show that we're going to be doing very soon, so keep an eye out for that. And if you want to support me, go to patreon.com/genuine chit-chat for lots of bonus content and fun things and early access. And if you want to support Dave, it's patreon.com/VHS Strikes Back for bonus content and early episodes of stuff. So all the patrons are doing, we're all very cool, all good fun. And check out Spider-Dan as well, because we shouted him out a little bit as well. But friends, thank you so much for listening in. As always, we'll be back talking to you in a few weeks' time with Season 3, Part 1 of the Clone Wars. That is going to be Episode 1, and then it might only be up to Episode 10, because I believe Episode 11 kicks off. No, we'll be up to Episode 11. It works perfectly. I did it again. So, Episode 1 to Episode 11, The Pursuit of Peace. That's how far we're going to be going if you're going to be watching along. So please do, let us know what you thought. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Always.
All right, see ya.
That is weird, because as he did that,
All right.
Dave must have clicked his finger and it popped up onto my screen, Dave, and you disappeared.
Fuck it. Oh, shit.
I just want to keep this in it. Careful.
Best part of that episode.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Maybe I'll pop in just that bit of audio right at the end.
Caught my thing.
Oh, Megan, don't forget your bottle.
No, I'm not taking that.
You can't leave your bottle in here.
I can.
It's massive.
And I will.
Look at the size of this. It's colossal.
Stay hydrated.
Thanks.
Amanda's
After
got
school,
a big jug like that. He's-
after school special. Stay
Gallon.
hydrated. Oh. Right then, move the mic down. Get more ready into it. Now the girl is gone. The boys come out to play. Yes.